Imagine a dark, massive body of water violently splitting apart under an immense invisible pressure. Picture a fast-flowing river suddenly stopping and reversing course. These terrifying images come from Psalm 114. In just 8 verses, it captures the natural world in a state of absolute panic and a strange, wild ecstasy. Looking at this photograph of the rugged, foreboding peaks towering over the Red Sea, you get a sense of the physical scale involved. We are talking about the actual Red Sea, the Jordan River, and the massive mountains of the Sinai Peninsula. Today, when we read about these miracles, we tend to treat them like spiritual quick fixes. We look for God to act like a cosmic superhero, swooping in to part the seas of our daily annoyances or clear the obstacles blocking our career goals. But we might be misreading the scale of these events. Tearing an ocean in half was the easy part, a physical signpost meant to point to a much more difficult, invisible miracle. In this vintage photo of the pyramids, we see the ancient Egyptian context where this story begins. The historical setting is the Exodus, when the Israelites left Egypt to form an entirely new nation. The text describes them leaving a people of strange language. In the ancient world, this signaled more than a different dialect. It represented a culture whose laws and definitions of reality were diametrically opposed to the truth Israel received from God. Escaping Egypt meant abandoning a vocabulary of deception. Notice how the River Jordan, seen here as a daunting physical barrier, is described in the poem. The sea saw and fled. The Jordan turned back. And looking at the massive, immovable weight of the Sinai peaks, the poem says these mountains skipped like rams. Nature itself was reacting in joyful, terrified submission to the literal face of the Lord. The physical world's radical obedience wasn't performed to make human travel easier. It revealed the absolute authority of God's presence, setting a standard for what true submission looks like. Following the Exodus, God established a physical footprint on earth. This wide shot of Jerusalem's historic architecture represents that era, where Judah became his physical sanctuary and Israel his dominion. Yet, human kingdoms fail. As we look at the contested courtyard of the Dome of the Rock, we see the political fractures, corruption, and eventual destruction that defined the era of the physical temple. That era reached its climax at the crucifixion of Jesus, and exactly like the days of the Exodus, the earth reacted physically. The sky went dark and the ground quaked. During that earthquake, the heavy woven veil inside the physical temple violently ripped straight down the middle, from top to bottom. The era of God residing in a breakable physical geography was ending. It broke open to make way for a permanent internal sanctuary. Zooming out from global topography down to a single human silhouette, the narrative scale shifts to the interior. The New Covenant states God will eventually shake the heavens and earth until everything external falls away, leaving an unshakable kingdom residing within the believer. To understand how that happens, we look back at one final miracle from the desert wanderings. God struck a solid, flinty rock, and a spring of fresh water poured out. This ancient survival story reveals a spiritual mechanic. The hardest, most immovable object in the universe is not a mountain or a sea. It is the stubborn, stony human heart. True spiritual transformation requires breaking through that impenetrable inner nature. Rearranging our external circumstances is useless if the core remains rock solid. That ancient image of water from flint reaches its fulfillment in the arrival of the Holy Spirit, described as living water bursting from dry stone. The central claim of the Christian faith rests on this internal transformation. God strikes the stony resistance of our nature, replacing it with a heart of flesh that actually flows with life. We often look for God to solve the surface-level frustrations of our careers or our schedules, but Psalm 114 demands a different focus. The God who made the literal oceans flee and the mountains dance now resides inside you. He is systematically conquering your internal rebellion to build his permanent, unshakable sanctuary.